Welcome into the Dad Verb Podcast. This is our second episode into our, second season, second year, right? Into 2024. I am joined by Ben Brown, Andrew Saunders. Guys, how are we doing? How is the new year starting off for you two gentlemen?
It's going well. We're kicking it off. We are, So we talked a little bit about some of those goals that we had for 2024. And those are going strong so far. So we're getting into our second week of 2024. And the resolutions are still going. The goals we had, the intentions we had to meditate and journal and move a little bit more, still going strong. So we'll see if we make it to the end of the month.
Good stuff. Andrew?
I'm having a terrible 2024. So my grandmother was born on December 26th. So we went to see her on her birthday. The day after her birthday, she fell out of her chair and she never left the hospital. She passed away on the 2nd. We buried her on the 4th. And then on the 6th, I went to my wife's extended family Christmas. So I am like 8 ways of emotionally disturbed right now, if that makes any sense.
Wow.
I have not started any of my New Year's resolution. The water-based rower that I started is still in the basement in pieces. The journals are right there, not open. I just pointed over my shoulder for those of you in the audio. You can see them behind me. So yeah, it's not kicking it off well this year. Family's healthy, kids are good, but life is a mess right now.
Man, I'm so sorry to hear that, but that's that's part of it. This is real life. I mean, we're going to be hitting on some of those things throughout this podcast. But to Andrew's note, right? For those of you who are watching on YouTube, welcome into our return to these podcasts being hosted on the main Dad Verb YouTube channel. We started off here, did a few episodes, then migrated to its own YouTube channel because kind of as a test, as an experiment. The Dad Verb Podcast had its own YouTube channel. And it was great. It was cool to see people kind of go there and watch. But because of the plans that, I have planned for, just the Dad Verb main YouTube channel itself and where it has gone or what it's come to, wanted to bring the podcast back here as its kind of permanent home where it's going to be hosted. So if you are a viewer of the channel, you have no clue what this is the Dad Verb Podcast. There's 3 of us here. We are all dads, and we get together each week to cover off on different topics of parenting from the lens of dad, right? So some of the topics are lighthearted, fun. Some of them are a little bit heavier. We're going to be talking about just tips for kids and babies and all that stuff. And as our kids get older, the content's gonna evolve with it. So that's just a quick rundown of where we're at coming into 2024. Seeing these podcasts being hosted on the Dad Verb YouTube channel. I'm going to be making a follow-up video soon about what is up and coming for the channel with regards to the types of content that's going to be made moving forward, because it's going to be a far cry from when I first started all of this 5-6 years ago. So I'm just really happy to have faces like these guys that you're seeing right here join me, because I've always, on the top of every video, I've always said, hey guys, Andrew here with Dad Verb, and now I get to share that where we've got Ben making content on the channel where he gets to say, yo guys, Ben here with Dad Verb. So for those who aren't listening or watching on YouTube, that's a quick rundown. But for our audio listeners, welcome back. This is business as usual. This is our second season. We're on episode 30. What? I don't even know anymore.
I changed the number scheme. It's 2024 episode 2.
2402.
We've been at this for a minute, guys. We've been at this for a minute. We're gonna try to hit around about a half hour for each of these episodes, and that's kind of our goal. So on this specific episode, should have covered this at the top of the episode. On this episode, we're gonna be talking about America versus kids. And how other countries kind of outpace us in some ways with regards to childcare. And we're going to be following that up with ranking our favorite snacks from our childhood and comparing some of them to today's snacks that we're packing in our kids' lunch boxes. And we're going to finish it off with a comment from our Discord, which you can feel free to join if you check out the description in the show notes or the link in the description of this YouTube video. So anyway, that's what we got on the docket. We'd like to start off each week with just a quick sick check. Because it's a miracle that anyone can actually stay healthy, especially just this period of during this holiday season. But sick check, everyone. I unbelievably, knock on wood, we've actually been healthy throughout December, early January. I'm in shock. How are you guys doing? How are the kids? Are they actually healthy?
We're healthy. No
Yes?
sick kids in this house. I mean, knock on wood, but no, we're still good. I'm gonna knock while I say this. My 9-month-old hasn't had a real cold yet, and the 23-month-old has not been sick yet. So she has not had more than a dry cough, which either speaks to the greatness of my immune system,
I bet
or
it's that.
that she's just really chewing on enough dog toys to get those antibodies built up really good. Yeah,
it's you and your family. You've got some sort of immune something that is just so strong compared to ours. Because
they should study me. Yeah,
you yourself, you don't get
scientific experiments.
Yeah,
I don't. So my mom used to say she knew when I was sick if I was throwing up. So if I'm vomiting, that's when I'm sick. If I'm not vomiting,
you don't get colds.
No. Like I'll occasionally get the stuffy nose, like sinusy things, but it's usually for about 2 weeks in spring and 2 weeks in fall. And I think there's just one type of pollen that really hits me, and then I'm over it. And frankly, I just suck down a bunch of Afrin and move on with my day. So,
man, I wish I was you. Ben, what about you, man? How's your family holding up?
Everybody's good, but we've been in and out of colds all through kind of the holiday season. So, my daughter, I think I said in either the last episode or an episode before that she had an ear infection. That turned into a double ear infection, which then we think may have gone away through multiple types of antibiotics. And then she got sick again almost immediately. Yeah, came right back. So now we're finishing up a round of Augmentin to hopefully knock that one out. And that should be it. She's the only one right now that's on any sort of no, I lied. My wife is also on an antibiotic because I think she has an ear infection too.
Oh no.
But I'm doing okay.
You're good. Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. I mean, I would say that gives us a week of health. I think that's one for the records right there.
To be fair, when I was a kid, I did have chronic ear infections to the point where they put tubes in my ears. And
it's a common thing. A lot of kids.
Yeah, a lot of kids to this day. I'll get one and I'll be like, oh, I got an ear infection. And then it's like, okay, I move on. And I really don't even notice them until like true pain starts. Cause it's like, yep, this is a thing that happens in my life. So anyway.
Well, so the first topic here, it's a conversation starter that really kind of fired off when I stumbled across an article on Business Insider. And it was a really intriguing headline on the Instagram for it. And it says, "It takes a village to raise a child, but America burned down the village." And that was just like that. I know.
The hell of a tagline.
I know, right?
Sensational.
And then the actual sensational. The actual title for this article is "Why America Hates Its Children." And then kids are worse off in America than any other rich country. It's by design. And while this, kind of really is a deep dive on like all the problems of like America versus Sweden and America versus Japan and America versus, there are pros and cons to everything, but there are some fun things to not fun things, but there's some interesting things to dissect out of this. And the way it really kicks off was the author of this article was talking about how she was in Greece once. She was on a bus and it was very commonplace for strangers to like lift her kids up onto their laps and just and make sure that they're seated and comfortable during the trip, and just kind of make sure, like that whole like parenting as a village, like making sure that strangers are making sure that her children are well taken care of during like bus rides and all that, and holding their hands and tucking them underneath their arms and to prevent them from kind of being thrown forward in a crash or something like that. So it just spoke to like society and the way it works out there and how they are watchful over children. And then she basically went into a large kind of rundown about why America's not like that in multiple ways. I've been talking for a while, and there are a couple little points I'll go up. But like Ben, I mean, did you have a moment to kind of like go through that article, and what are some things that stuck out at you about like where we may be falling behind and where you think we can actually improve on as a country when it comes to kids in America?
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting article, even with the sensational headlines, and it touches on a lot of things. I think if you talk to any parent, that makes sense.
Did you do that intentionally?
No, I don't know what happened. It's gonna close my video out too. I'm gonna fix this. All right.
Ben just reacted for those of you on YouTube with a thumbs up,
weird stuff,
and he did not mean to do it.
I bumped my desk and it gave an automatic thumbs up.
Yeah.
But in any case, so
it's a nice feature.
I think in speaking to a lot of parents, especially millennial parents, we're kind of changing the way we relate to our kids and sort of looking outside what has been traditionally done to figure out how we want to raise kids, right? Everybody thinks they can do it in a new and different way. We happen to be the latest generation to think we can do it new and different. And so the article talked a lot about, first of all, parental leave, which I know has been a big discussion on the Dad Verb Discord, right? And that there is no mandatory parental leave in the United States. Yeah. I've talked about this on the podcast before. I was fortunate enough that my company offered a 16-week parental leave. I was able to take that time off and spend it with my kids. Wildly uncommon for most people in the US to get that amount of time off and paid, especially dads, right? The second thing I thought was really interesting that they were talking about is, and this is sort of the core of the article I felt, was that it's society's attitudes towards children that are drastically different. And you see this when you travel to European countries, Scandinavian countries, basically most other sort of Western nations don't view children. In the US, we seem to view children as like a burden, right? Yep. They need to behave a certain way. They need to do certain things. They basically need to go unnoticed in society.
Right.
Whereas in many European countries, they're sort of welcomed as being children, right? They're loud, they're rambunctious, they should be outside playing, they should be integrated into society, but not made to fit the mold of a tiny adult. Like it's understood that they're a child. And you see this a lot across, again, Europe, Scandinavian countries where that's sort of encouraged.
Yeah. And
I do think it's really interesting that we do not promote that really in the US.
No, we don't. It's like we have these expectations of like these, and it's hard. And I fall into this trap too, of just like our kids being just little burdens, and and having the expectation that they just like know things the things that we do as an adult, like why would you do that? And that's a very common reaction. But yeah, we just have no patience. We have no patience for our kids, and yeah, I think that's it's a shame. It's sad, but I think that's just us as a society. On one note that Ben made about the paid family leave, which we lack. Just from the article, it says of the 38 countries that belong to the leading Western trade alliance, the U.S. ranks 32 in spending on early childhood. In Sweden, and it's always like Sweden and Norway and the Nordic countries that we get pitted up against. It's just there are interesting things about that. But it says in Sweden, which offers single parents a staggering 480 days of paid parental leave, which if you're counting, that is over a year. But I think there are ramifications to not like legal ramifications, but like if you take that much time and you come back, like it's different, right?
Right.
But it says Sweden offers single parents a staggering 480 days of paid parental leave. Preschool costs no more than 3% of a family's gross income. America, by contrast, has no mandated paid parental leave, has no universal child care, and only 1/3 of American families can afford child care, which consumes 27% of their income on average. So that is... Go ahead.
And I think that's a really important one to hit on, right? Like... like we have 2 kids in daycare, and daycare is by far I think it is our largest household expense.
Isn't it feel like a second mortgage? It's like a second mortgage.
It's double our mortgage. So
How
we pay
infuriating is that though?
Yeah, we pay almost $3,000 a month for two kids to go to full-time daycare. And then, as you've seen the article, childcare or childcare specialists, right, are among the lowest paid professions of any out there.
Right.
And yet we're spending a massive amount of money to send our kids to a safe, clean daycare where they're going to learn and grow and develop and all that.
Yeah.
And we're trusting them with our children, 8+ hours a day.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, it's a massive burden on the household finances. So much so that you see a lot of people who end up, a spouse will end up staying at home for a couple of years instead of sending their kids to daycare because it is so expensive. Right. You end up saving money by having a stay-at-home parent versus the additional income and taxes and all of that.
And that's the biggest takeaway that I got from this article is like the being a lot of families being forced to choose between, family time, raising kids, having work, trying to continue to make ends meet, but I can't afford to have my kid. That is a very, very hard thing that a lot of families have to continue to battle. Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, so this frustrates me to no end when we compare the United States to like Sweden or Norway or Finland or Denmark, right?
That have a population of 0.
For starters, right? Like the entire population of Norway lives, for them, 90% in a spot. It's tiny, right? It's like 1 million people, and it's basically the size of New York City at the end of the island. And then they're paying upwards of 55% income tax to the government. Like, I mean, if for every dollar you made, if you only got 45 cents, I think you'd be really upset. And so the numbers work.
Yeah.
If you're in like New York City or you're in San Francisco, right? If you're in these very dense urban populations or spots where you can actually drive from one end to the other in a couple hours. But the closest hospital to me is 10 minutes away by car. The closest tier 1 emergency room is an hour away by car. Like there is no ability for them to put a hospital close enough for me at the price point without my tax rate being 75 cents on every dollar. Right. And so
go ahead.
Well, it's frustrating.
The hard part about these kinds of conversations is it's very hard to like toe the line of like what's frustrating, what's not, and what's working and all that without it going into like a political realm where it's just like, well, policy states and we have to vote in blah blah blah. Like, and I don't want to get into that, right?
No.
But if we were to just like highlight on like the frustrations of like what we could be doing better, not like so like. I get it in comparison to other countries and just like the tax implications and all that stuff. That's a whole different thing. But if we're just to hone in on just the frustrations of, parents being forced to make those decisions and having something so simple that should be something so simple, eat up a quarter of their income, or to Ben's point, having it cost more than your mortgage, that doesn't seem right.
It doesn't, but the counter argument, right, or the piece that I think is being left out of there is it's eating up a quarter of your income because 15 to 20% of your income isn't going to the government to provide those services, right? I mean, if we take, I think she's referring to Sweden, who has a 50%, 49.5 national income tax, and the U.S. is 37. So if we do the math and you take the 27% income right off, we're really 10%, maybe 12 of your annual income is diverted towards childcare. That seems a lot more reasonable than a quarter. Right? Like the numbers don't work the same because the environments aren't the same. And like one of the parts I was reading about the whole bus kid grabbing, that's her intro article, right? The little old lady picks up her kid. We were at a family event on Saturday. I had never met any of these people in my entire life, and I don't think I held either of my daughters for more than 10 minutes in a 4-hour window.
Right.
Because everybody who was there was like, can we hold them? Go for it. You have fun, right? You want to feed them? Sure. No booze.
Yeah.
No soda.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it was all the way from like 7-8-year-old little girls to my sister or my wife's cousin's sister, like 80-year-old women.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with it. My wife didn't have a problem with it. And they were effectively strangers to us. So I feel like a lot of this is paranoia on the parent part.
Well, I would say I would argue though that is fundamentally different than the core point of the article. Like you were at a family event, right?
Right.
So
sure.
So you were at a place where, you know, either families are coming together or they're people who are related to you in some fashion. I'm not sure what you meant there.
Right.
But the difference is, and we saw this when we traveled to Italy, and this is before we had kids, is that as we were traveling around Italy, everywhere that we went, and actually in Indonesia as well. So we spent some time in Indonesia, and when we were there, everywhere that we went, there was this really open, welcoming attitude towards children in every environment, whether it was a high-end restaurant or it was a street vendor or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so I think as a society, we have a challenging time with kids behaving as kids. Because, like, I mean, even as we know, like, I have super well-behaved kids, but they're still children. They're going to have outbursts. They're going to have meltdowns. They're going to lose it every now and then.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you see that happen, either everybody sort of leaves that parent alone because they're like, oh, I don't want to get involved in that. You know, like there's no one kind of patting them on the back and saying like, hey, we know this is a tough situation, but like, you've got this, giving them some encouragement, something to say, you're still welcome here, even though your child is having this experience, right? They're melting down, they're having an issue. And so I think that's where I see the challenge in our society. Not that it's
patient with kids,
right? Being just patient with kids, being
because
kids
now
allowing them in adult spaces.
Like, how many times am I going to have to read? And she even says this in the article too. How many times am I going to have to read about like parents getting super mad about like kids on airplanes? Now it's like, yeah, we travel with children. That's just life. That's how it is. But now it's just like there's an actual argument about like, no, you shouldn't be traveling with kids. If you have kids, don't travel. Don't get on an airplane. It's like, that's not reasonable.
That's exactly how I was raised. I was not allowed on an airplane if I was going to throw a fit, or like, that's how I was raised. That was completely inappropriate to throw that kind of tantrum or be that kind of kid on a plane.
Kids, like, but that's the thing. At that age, though, especially those toddler ages, like it's not like you can control that. I think that's what it is. It's like we
do not have the capacity to relate to their emotions until they're like 7.
Right. And I think the whole point of this article is just that, like, at 2 years old, we have the expectation that they can control emotions like that. They should be able to, when they simply cannot. And we as a society are impatient with that and just have been disassociated from that, like, understanding of a 2-year-old can't manage their emotions. Right. They're going to have outbursts. We should all be patient with it because we've all been there. That's just how it is. And I think that's
Saunders,
the whole point of it.
Saunders, to what you were saying, I think there is a line, right? There is a learn to be present in society, right? Learn the rules of the road, all that stuff. And I agree with that. I think there is an aspect to having a child in those spaces to learn how to be in those spaces, right? To see the example of how we behave in a restaurant, a theater, whatever. Like, that is a part of learning to be a part of society, right? You don't get to do whatever you want all the time.
Right.
Where we lose it, I think, is I don't know if you guys saw this article that came out a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, in Blue Ridge, Georgia, not too far from us, a couple hours away. There's a restaurant that has a $50 surcharge created by the owner, and it's called a bad parenting fee. So if you go to this restaurant and if your kid, but I'm saying, like, if your kid Literally. So, but the bad parenting fee they've shown, they're like, our kid just got tired and like threw a tantrum. Like there's not a lot that we can do about that other than he's hungry, he's tired. We did the best we could. But your kids aren't, they're like, our kid was not running around screaming in the restaurant. They weren't throwing things. They weren't even like leaving the table. And they got charged a bad parenting fee for a kid just behaving as a child, right? Just losing it in a restaurant.
But the fee isn't against the kid. The fee is against the parent not recognizing that it was time for you and your child who was tired to leave the public place where the tantrum was going to be thrown when it occurred. Like so I have a very specific memory of being in Washington, D.C., and I don't know how old I was, but I was old enough to be sitting at a table and ordering at a restaurant. And either I or my sister threw a fit, and we were in the hotel restaurant, and we went back to the room, and my sister and I did not eat dinner, and mom and dad's plates got brought upstairs to room service. And that was a very clear message in my childhood of, you do not throw fits in restaurants. That is not acceptable. Right. And I get it. My 2-year-old throws fits, right? But you know where she doesn't throw fits? In restaurants. She starts going off, and I just look at her straight in the face and I say, we don't do this in restaurants. And she'll look at me and she'll kind of, okay, yep, I can suck it up, right? And if she does, we get up and we go outside, or we go to the bathroom, and that's where she can let loose and have her moment, and I calm her down and we come back. But that's on me as a parent. I'm not expecting her to have that knowledge and those abilities. And I think one of the things that I don't know if it's being addressed or not being addressed, but the point is parents are taking a far more active role in the lives of their children in other first world countries, right? Much more than American parents as social media and the world is presenting them. And from my experience, it's a lot more, the lack of parenting is far more prolific in larger cities. Like in Salt Lake City, there were far more times when I was at a restaurant and there was a kid losing it than I have seen since I'm now in Eastern Iowa, where there aren't a million people within 500 square miles, right? The parents just keep track of their kids better. Right. And I think that's the point of the rule in the restaurant, right? Yeah. Is if you're not going to parent, I mean, it's funny because every game store I walk into says, if you don't keep track of your kids, we will teach them a collectible card game, right? And like gotta be Pokemon. Okay, wait, hold on. So here's the thing though. So, and I don't want people to understand like where I don't like let my kids freak out on an airplane or at a restaurant and be like, and you guys should be understanding of this and patient of it. Like, no, of course. You know, if they're going to be a distraction or whatever, I'm going to do my best to either go into the bathroom and, calm them down or take them out of that situation. So they're not a nuisance, a burden to society. Right. But here's the thing. I think when in the past, if there's a kid having some sort of a meltdown or whatever, there's a society that now currently just looks around and is like, get your kid under control. What the hell's the matter with you? Right. Whereas I think in a previous time, other parents may have come up, taken a knee, like, how can I help? What's going on? Anything like that. Right. Where there's more lending hands. Now it seems more like isolation. Like you are in your own boat. And that goes like so much. I mean, I felt like so free when I was a kid. I would go out and I would like build forts and I would go out and like, now today we live in a very safe neighborhood. Like sometimes, like, I don't know, as a society, we just don't feel like we can let our kids go out and play because everyone's a pedophile and they're going to get taken and raped. Like that is so sad that like, that's the climate now. That's the climate. Like what you're exposed to. No one has each other's back anymore. Everyone's in danger and everyone's on their own. So you take care of it. And that's what is so frustrating. Yeah. The other piece you're talking about where people don't walk up and like help you with your kids is because I think in a lot of ways we all got used to getting sued by everyone else, right?
If I sit down, my kid, you don't talk to him that way. It's mine,
right?
And it's like,
and it's like, well, you know what? I'm guessing this 50-year-old grandmother knows way more about rearing a child than I do, right? Because she's probably got 5 kids of her own and a half a dozen grandkids. Like, even if I don't like her advice, there might be a nugget of wisdom in there somewhere.
Well, guys, this is it was a long article that went through a lot of different pathways, and we went through a lot of different pathways. But if you want to go ahead and read that and share your thoughts on what you took away from the article, it's really interesting. Whether and again, it could get very political very, very quickly. But the core, like where you stand on that, let us know. And we're happy to read that out. So if we were going to go into a lighter note, though, talking about I want to rank our favorite kids snacks from our childhood. Now, I was thinking about this because we've been packing, Henry's lunches and all that stuff. I mean, Andrew, not yet, but soon, you're going to be packing daughter's lunches and sending them off to school and all that stuff. But thinking about your favorite kids snacks, for Henry, it's goldfish and applesauce, and it's blah. It's disgusting. Those are the worst. It's the worst. What are the best from, we're kind of like all 90s kids ish. Growing up.
Thanks.
And I know
I'm the ish.
But if you were to rank your favorite snacks growing up, give me 2 of your top favorites.
Dr. Pepper bubblegum.
I've actually never had that. Really?
Dr. Pepper bubblegum was a Bubblicious style piece of bubblegum with Dr. Pepper syrup in it, like a gusher. And you would bite into it, and the cherry, like syrupy whatever, would just gusher into your mouth. And it was, I mean, the gum was terrible after that, but just that initial, this was before gushers existed. Okay. Gushers were not a thing.
Oh man.
So it was that
gushers
one.
Were good. Okay.
That's my number
gushers
one.
Are fantastic.
Yeah. I got a couple good number 2s, but we'll go.
Are
we going around or we just,
okay. Yeah. We'll go around. I'll go second. Dunkaroos was a thing back in the day, and they're basically like these little graham cracker type things, and you would dip them into this dip, which is basically just a cake icing.
Do you remember when those came out, or were those always a thing in your life?
I was always
okay.
I was growing up in New Jersey, New York, New Jersey, 90s. Yeah, it was. I don't know. That's when I had them.
I remember the first Dunkaroos commercial.
Oh, with the kangaroo.
Yep.
Yeah, I have like a lot of weird 90s throwback things on my Instagram. I guess we're that age now where we have like radio stations dedicated to the music we liked when we were kids. But
30-year-old classic rock. Yep. Nickelback is not classic rock.
I just rediscovered Dunkaroos too, because apparently they like sell them again. I was like, what? And I had them, and they don't hold up like they used to in my head. But in my head, they were the GOAT. They were amazing. And I would just eat the graham crackers, and I would just like, with my index finger, just scoop out all the icing and just wolf it down.
You couldn't eat them because the cracker would break, right? You couldn't actually dunk them.
It was weak. Yeah. Anyway, all right, Ben.
Oh gosh, probably one of my favorite. It's kind of a snack, but it was the Kool-Aid bursts. Like when you buy the Kool-Aid in like that weird waxy plastic bottle, and you have to twist the top off.
Yeah. They still make those.
Basically like crush it to drink it.
Yeah.
And I remember whenever they showed up at the house, like I knew like my mom had a good paycheck. Yeah. So like we got like those Kool-Aid because they were so expensive for like 6 of them.
Dude, and I remember they had this one like little bit where they released these like color changing pills that you would like put into them, and then they would go from like blue to red or something.
Yep.
Oh man, those are so fun. It was delicious too. All right. I'm liking where we're at right now. All right, Andrew, finish us off.
Okay, so on your Dunkaroos theme, I don't know if you can still get them, but prior to Dunkaroos being a thing, you used to be able to get a Cheese Whiz based thing with a little red plastic spoon and an Nabisco cracker. And I don't remember what they were called.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you peeled the top back and you
peeled the top back. You took the butter cracker out and the cheese. I begged for those things.
They were so good.
I like those. Yeah.
They are disgusting. If you try them now, you'll be like, I can't believe my parents let me eat this. But those were it. So in my memory, those came out, and then they did Dunkaroos, and then they did Teddy Graham Dunkaroos, which were like this progression of like, oh my God, it just keeps getting better. And so those cheese cracker things, and they eventually had ones that were chocolate that were pretty good.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up, man. I'm so glad you brought that up. It was amazing.
I loved those.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's like, here's your celery and Jif peanut butter in the same thing. And I'm like, it's not the same thing. That's not, no. It has to be garbage and bad cheese. That's what you need to feed.
Day-Glo orange government cheese and
oh my god,
exactly.
Hey man, I'll eat it. I'll eat it. It's plastic, but I'll eat it.
It had that odor too that was like it still had the polystyrene in it.
the manufactured smell.
It had that tang to it. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So if I'm gonna finish it off, I could shout out so many. I really liked Fruit by a Foot when those just popped into my little lunchbox. But Lunchables, man. I didn't get Lunchables as much as my white friends, but on occasion I would. And the specific one that I liked was the pizza one, and it really wasn't good, but I really liked it. With
You're like
sauce.
making the pizza,
that sugary sauce, and that the weird sugary chewy cracker,
and then I would suck the remaining sauce out of the little pouch, and you sprinkle it with the mozzarella, the hard little pepperonis. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic.
All right.
It's just a chewy stale cracker, cold cheese, and red sugar. Yeah, it's so gross. I loved them too. Don't get me wrong; they were awesome. Yeah, I got so excited every time. I'd get so disappointed if I saw a Lunchable and it was ham and cheese instead of pizza.
Oh my gosh!
You'd be like, "Oh,
you guys are so
spoiled."
All right, there was no pizza Lunchable. Okay, it was ham and Swiss, ham and cheddar, turkey and Swiss, and you didn't want turkey.
I want stale pizza.
We were lucky when they made them Oreos, and then we were even more lucky when they shoved a Capri Sun in there. But there were like 5 years without the Capri Sun, man, or the cookies. It was just Ritz. Oh,
yeah.
Pizza.
So, we got the pizza thing. We got the pizza thing for Henry recently, and he was eating it. He only ate half of it, and he ran off. He's like, I'm going to do something else. So I finished it. Tastes exactly the same from our childhood.
They haven't changed.
Not good. I'll say it's not good, but I like it. I just
it's not even a little bit good.
Oh.
All right, Ben, you got a last one for us?
Yeah, I for some reason these just popped into my head too. I think somebody mentioned Fruit by the Foot. Might have been you, Andrew.
Yep.
Do you remember String Things?
Yeah,
String.
Basically, just string cheese. It was like Fruit by the Foot, kind of, but it was like almost 3D printed onto like one of those little wax pieces of paper.
Oh,
so you open it up,
pull it out in a spiral.
And you pull it off on like either a spiral or it was like a design, and you would pull off the design.
Yeah.
So you could pull it off like one piece at a time.
Yeah.
So I used to love it. It'd take you like 20 minutes to eat it.
Right. So it was fruit roll up.
Wow.
And then they did String Things, which were a fruit roll up that they stamped with a design. And then they did Fruit by the Foot. But they were all the same thing. It's all that fruit paste.
It's the same. It's all the exact same formula.
Yep.
Just red sugar.
And you used to pick out, you wanted like the Ninja Turtle ones so you could pick the right scene. And if you started wrong, you'd screw up the whole scene, and then you just roll it into a ball and eat it as one giant chunk.
People who are listening to this, I mean, a majority of the audience are in that kind of 90s, growing up in that time where these are nostalgic things that we just brought up. And I am so glad that you guys brought up the cheese thing and that. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. One last thing
it's scary that you can still get most of this stuff in the snack aisle at the grocery store. Like,
I know.
Not only did we enjoy it, but it didn't die. Like,
no, it still exists.
Someone kept feeding it to children. Like, oh yeah, Fruit by the Foot. That's totally a fruit serving.
It's funny too, because like in my head, I'm just like
corn syrup,
all of that. Yeah, I just assumed that it all went away, but no, it didn't. And one shout out to a drink that came up when I was in middle school, and it was only sold for like a 2-year period, and it was called Pepsi Blue, and it was just carbonated water, sugar, and blue. And man,
and blue.
It was so good. It was just blue number 4 or whatever the dye is.
Oh,
and
God.
Man,
it was carbonated toilet bowl water. That's what it looked like.
It really does look like toilet bowl
delicious
cleaner.
Toilet bowl water. It literally did look like that. It looked like a freaking Lysol thing just got snapped in there and just.
All right.
But anyway,
bonus round. Favorite nostalgic drink. I'm gonna go with Sobe Life Water.
Oh, that's not even that old.
The Sobeys back in the day. But it's long enough ago that I remember having to ask my mom to like buy them for me because I was like, I don't know, I must have been like 6 or 7.
Before they were Life Water, I believe they were just Sobe.
Were Sobe, yeah.
And
it was like
they
tea
had one
and mango and like
They had a citrus pineapple one that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But I want to put this in perspective for you guys. I was in high school before those things came out.
Gosh.
Okay. And for the record, Sunny D.
Sunny D was good. I like Sunny D.
The orange juice.
So what is Sunny D? Because that's not orange juice, right? But whatever it is, I love it. It's got this tang. I don't know what I love it.
I think it's a mix between real orange juice and tang.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pulp free.
Have you ever had Tampico? Tampico is kind of it's along the similar vein. It's really good.
Tampico's close.
I can back the Sunny D. That's a drink that I literally probably haven't had in like 20 years, honestly.
If you drink Tang, like if you go buy powdered Tang and make some up and you drink it, you're like, okay, I know this flavor. Where do I know this from? And it's one of those, like, if you half and half it with some orange juice, you're like, oh, Sunny D. I get it now. That's where they got it. So, but yeah, Sunny D.
Okay, so if you're talking about favorite drinks, there is a drink that I'm surprised I even found this. It was from Snapple, and there was like a little series that they had called Elements, where there was like rain and volcano and spark and all these things. And I remember collecting the bottles because I thought they were just like so cool. And I absolutely love those. And I was like, is that a thing? Do those actually still exist? I'm going to chat it to you. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but yeah, like I'm seeing the bottles right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a flashback to like 1997, man. That was just wild.
There was a sparkling water before sparkling water was popular called Clearly Canadian. They had a raspberry and a black cherry.
I remember those.
And they weren't seltzer water. And they weren't Perrier. They were just enough citrus to kind of get your nose tickled, but they were very well flavored. I want to say they were like 20 calories for a whole thing. You can buy them on Amazon now, and it's the only way to get them, but they're ridiculously expensive. But they were gone for, I want to say 20 years, and then enough internet popularity was like, bring them back. And you can buy them by the case now, but Clearly Canadian.
Jeez, man.
I also don't know how I didn't put Yoo-Hoo chocolate drink on my list.
Because it's not good.
Favorite. That's my absolute favorite. I still love it today.
You still love it?
Oh yeah.
I can't. It doesn't taste like chocolate milk to me. It tastes like
absolutely
manufactured garbage.
No, it tastes like chocolate drink. It is. Yes, it doesn't even claim to be chocolate milk. It's just.
I'm into that too. Yo, I'm like into everything.
It's got the same relationship that Sunny D has to orange juice. It's like
it's in the same realm, but it's not real.
Yes,
I was always a Nesquik guy, so the bunny had me from the beginning.
Well, complete opposite here. On our Discord, Prince Bougie, one of our mods, chatting about New Year getting fit and not eating any of the crap that we just talked about. He said, let's get fitter than
That's
we were
last year. That's why he needs to
get
fit.
Yeah. Let's get fitter than we were last year. Any way to keep each other accountable. If you're on the Discord, Andrew, you're leading the charge on some new app that we're going to download, right?
I'm leading the charge. I found an app called what is it? Hold on, I'll get there. Squaddy. SQUADDY. And it's the idea is that you all join a squad and then you post your workout sessions and everybody can kind of see everybody's workout sessions, but there's no alerts. It's like, you didn't get your half an hour in yet today, right? Like it's more of just, hey, as a group of guys or as a squad of guys, let's get together and all commit to working out. And we're having some issues with the invite system right now, but I think Prince Bougie and I
figure it out,
and Andrew will work that out. And then I'm leading the charge. If you're on the Discord and you're listening to this and you know of a better app that does strength training and cardio, because I know we have members who are going to want to be like 100% on Ben's side of the bodybuilding strength training and then 100% on the like, no, I just want to do a ton of cardio. So we're looking for something that does like, a guaranteed 30 minutes a day. You get an alert, you do your thing, it tracks.
Get
We
your
can
steps,
at the end of the year
burn,
say,
something.
hey, so and so burnt the most calories. Good job. You did great for 2024, right? And just kind of keep track. I'll bring it up in the podcast every once in a while to kind of hit up those guys who are really killing it.
That'd be good.
But we're going to use the fitness channel on the Discord app. We're going to have some conversations. I am going to end this podcast and go down the stairs and assemble the water rower that has been sitting in my basement so that I can do my first session tonight and pretend like I'm going to hold on to my New Year's resolution longer than a week. So
there you go.
We'll find out. But that's where we're on the fitness thing, Bougie. We'll keep you up to date.
All right. Bougie, Prince Bougie, or Ahmad. There you go. There's your answer. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Dad Verb Podcast, guys. Again, check out the links down in the show notes or the description of the YouTube video if that's where you're watching. Once again, all these are going to be hosted on the Dad Verb YouTube channel, the normal Dad Verb YouTube channel moving forward, in addition to the reviews and all the stuff that we will be normally making. And of course, you can visit dadverb.com for courses from pregnancy up through year 1 of fatherhood, if that's the stage of life that you're at. As always, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.